Welcome back to this series, deep diving into the SLAYER Espresso. In the last episodes, we explored the iconic SLAYER shot, and then something which completely flips this on its head, which is called the reverse SLAYER shot. In today's episode, I'm going to introduce a recipe that I really like to use for more traditional, maybe darker roast coffees, which is also great in milk drinks, which we're calling the 15-15-15. The inspiration behind the 15-15-15 was essentially to create a companion for the SLAYER shot and the reverse SLAYER shot, which is focused on coffees with a more traditional flavor profile. So whereas the SLAYER shot gives you an unparalleled amount of control to really pinpoint exactly what you're looking for in maybe more complex coffees, and the reverse SLAYER shot really increases the intensity of sweeter, more fruit-forward, perhaps process-driven coffees. The 15-15-15 isn't necessarily about complexity or maximizing intensity or extraction. It's more about giving baristas a really easy-to-adapt template to bring balance and the most amazing texture to more traditional coffees. The name 15-15-15 essentially refers to the three phases of extraction. We've got a 15-second pre-brew, a 15-second full brew, and a 15-second decline. And the reason I like to use the 15-15-15 for more traditional coffees is that it often allows us to get a really sweet cup without pushing into any unwanted bitterness. And from a texture perspective, I often find that it has that really nice, thick, syrupy, viscous texture that we really long for in those more traditional espressos. Another nice thing about this recipe is it has the exact same machine setup as a SLAYER shot and a reverse SLAYER shot. And I intentionally started this series with these three recipes because I think they cover such a wide spectrum of coffees, highlighting completely different things without changing any of the internals of the machine. So, as with the SLAYER shot and the reverse SLAYER shot, I'm using that 1.67 grams per second in pre-brew, position 1. And then we've got the full unrestricted flow rate of around 9 grams per second for our full brew phase in position 2. As I spoke about in the reverse SLAYER shot video, if you did want to automate this process of the 15-second pre-brew, you could go into the menu, set a 15-second pre-brew timer, which will essentially automatically switch from pre-brew into full brew after 15 seconds without you having to manually switch from position 1 into position 2. This is really useful if you're just brewing 15-15-15 shots because it gives you that accuracy of the 15-second pre-brew and also removes a step from the process. But again, for the clarity of the demo, I'm going to brew this manually, moving from position 1 into position 2 after 15 seconds so you can see exactly what's going on with the machine. So I'm just going to turn the pre-brew timer off and then actuate to come out of our menu. So now the machine's all set up and ready to go. I've ground 18 grams of coffee in here, and throughout this process, which is a 45-second process, I like to aim for a ratio between 1 to 1.5 and 1 to 2. For this shot, I'm going to aim to land as close to the middle as possible, but you could obviously grind a little bit finer for a slightly shorter shot in this time, or a little bit coarser for a slightly longer shot in the same time. So now we can start brewing our 15-15-15. We'll start with our pre-brew in position 1 on the actuator. This will gently saturate the puck over the course of the first 15 seconds and is actually slightly shorter than the 20 to 30 second pre-brew you find on a SLAYER shot. So now after 15 seconds, we've moved into position 2. You should see the first drips pretty much as soon as we move into this position, and I'd expect the pour to look thick and deliciously syrupy at this stage. In our full brew phase, the incoming water's bypassing the needle valve, and then finally, we move into our final 15 seconds of the extraction, back in position 1 for a decline. This will extract the final part of the shot, and we're aiming for around a 31.5 gram yield, so we can achieve our target ratio of around 1 to 1.75. Now we can give it a taste. The first thing that stands out to me is the texture. It's syrupy, sweet, thick coating. And with a shot like this, you probably expect it to be quite acidic due to that shorter ratio. But actually this is really sweet, really jammy. And this coffee, when brewed at a straight 9-bar shot, doesn't really present these flavors. But in this cup, I'm finding kind of raisiny, dried fruit sweetness, a little bit of stone fruit apricot, as well as the more traditional notes of chocolate, nuttiness in there, and a little bit of that kind of molasses-like sweetness. So this coffee is actually a blend of 2 Brazils, a natural and a pulp natural. And I think the combination of a fairly high extraction for this coffee of 20.81% and that shorter yield of just shy of 32 grams gives a really nice balance between sweetness, a little bit of acidity, some positive bitterness of kind of dark chocolate, and that really thick texture. And that's a really nice starting point for a lot of different, more traditional coffees. This is also an amazing base for milk drinks. That works really well. And if you wanted to adapt this recipe, the beauty of it is it's really simple. So you could either extend or shorten the phases, maybe doing a 12-12-12 for a slightly shorter shot, or an 18-18-18 for a much longer shot. I'd probably lean towards a slightly lighter coffee for the longer shots and a slightly darker coffee for the shorter shots personally, but experiment with this, see what you find, and there's so much you can do with this very simple template. As I said before, you could go for the shorter ratio, maybe 1 to 1.5 to really emphasize acidity and that thick coat and texture, or you could lengthen the shot to maybe a 1 to 2 or maybe even longer, which would likely bring sweetness, potentially a little bit of bitterness depending on your roast level, but there's no rules here. This is a starting point, experiment and have some fun with the 15-15-15 shot. So I really hope that's useful. I think the combination of the Slayer shot, the reverse Slayer shot, and now the 15-15-15 give you so much variety in what you can achieve with this amazing machine. If you want to see those first two videos, I'll put the Slayer shot here, the reverse Slayer shot here. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, which you can do by clicking here, so you don't miss any future content about this machine and the rest of the amazing machines in the range. So enjoy your 15-15-15 espressos, and thanks for watching. Cheers.